Welcome back to Beyond the Pump, where today we are going to break down one of the biggest issues that coaches have in the space, which is getting a quick win for your client out of the gates so they are more bought in to what you're actually doing. Quick one here, listen in, put it on 2x speed. You'll be done in somewhere 2 to 8 minutes, and it's going to be great. Somebody's brand new into coaching. They just came on board. We know out of the gates, it's really ideal to get somebody a win as quick as possible. Reasonable, like making sure it makes sense, whatever. Obviously today there's a lot of weight loss stuff, but heck, even if it's like, I can teach you the perfect way to get your first pull up, whatever the thing might be. But like, somebody comes in, what are like the top 2 or 3 wins that a coach can try to get for somebody in your mind? And I know it's obviously client dependent in their goals, but what would you go down the road of?
Universally, just don't eat. You lose a couple pounds. It depends on the goal. Yeah, there's so many different avenues to take that. But most people are probably going to hire you because they want to lose weight. The second most common reason why someone's going to hire a coach is that they want to improve their performance of some sort, whether they're an athlete, whether they're trying to get ready for a 5K. And then usually like subsequent items might be they're trying to, reclaim some quality of life, or they're trying to feel better. As you go further down the punch list, to me, they inherently get a little more watered down. And so when you're determining what action items you want to present to someone that's going to give you the best opportunity as proof of concept that you're worth the money, that's really multifactorial. But like if it's weight loss, then you can't have them abstain from a certain food that may be more calorically dense, or maybe adding some sneaky calories in there. And that's usually like an easy, simple one. You can have them drink more water. That's another one, because they'll start peeing, and then naturally like they might lose some water weight from that. Usually it's kind of a self-correcting thing, but those are probably just the easiest 2 things most people will probably benefit from. You can have them sit in a Russian sauna. Like there's a lot of different things you could do.
Consuming enough water is probably like most everybody, except if you're one of the weird few, maybe, doesn't drink enough water. So if you start drinking more water, you'll likely end up balancing better and then less inflammation or whatever. So that's probably a really good one. I mean, the other one that comes to mind in my mind is like, hey, eat a head of broccoli every day. Like not literally broccoli, but like to some extent, hey, let's shove a few more vegetables in, and you might end up being a little bit more full and nothing crazy to some extent.
Here's the thing. When people hire you, they usually, the more you have serviced people, the longer you've been in the industry, the more you start to develop a brand footprint that people will come into the conversation already knowing something about you. They're more eager to potentially purchase or enlist your services because they have an understanding of who you are, what you believe in, how you've helped other people, right? Those are all proof of concept. Those are proof of value proposition, so to speak, that reduces uncertainty. And uncertainty and risk are some of the biggest determining factors as to why people won't purchase outside of the value proposition. And the value proposition can be even sometimes be reduced to the lack of certainty of, hey, I see that this is going to be the return. I don't know how that return is going to help me. This is one of the things that will cause people to actually stop using certain platforms because they don't know how it's going to work. So people will buy something, it'll sit on their shelf because they don't see the value in it because, again, it's uncertain. So the more you can bridge the gap of what they're doing against what they're trying to attain, then that's really when we talk about quick wins, again, inside of our coaching psychology, our nutrition cohorts that we're running right now, those are really imperative functions that we define what a win for this specific use case is. Because if you have someone lose 5 pounds and they're a performance athlete, that actually might be contraindicated altogether. And so, I think that the biggest fast win that you can get someone is very clear feedback that what they're doing is providing what they're getting. And so that way they can start to connect the dots between the behavior and the outcome. And that'll take you so much further than having them lose a pound by doing a water fast in the first week or anything like that. Which if they hire you for weight loss and they lose weight, there's a proof of concept. There's some gravity to that. Conceptually, if you zoom out, and it's not necessarily about the weight because, chances are good you're going to get someone that really doesn't care about the weight sometimes. And if all you do is weight loss, you're going to be at a loss because you don't have the framework. You just have the method. And so obviously, because we like to talk about principles, the idea here in quick wins is that you're giving proof of concept. Hey, you hired me for this, or you want this, I can do that. here are the things that you have to stack behaviorally that, when done consistently, will lead to the desired outcome.
At the end of the day, your job is to get them a result out of the gate that is going to resonate with them, right? And most people are probably early on going to require a tangible result. To whatever extent that is, there's going to be differences that come from that. But if they truly can grasp on the fact, like, oh, when I do this, then that happens type mentality, then like that's obviously going to be a big win, and that's a sustainable mechanism that you can now use to connect for their future results and like get their buy into the action. I would almost say that the big challenge is like during an onboard, hey, if we can accomplish one thing in the next 1 to 2 to 4 weeks, whatever the right timelines are based upon what you know about them and the overarching want, like what would that one thing be that we can both agree on that like, hey, we're going to chase this and that's going to be a thing that we care about? You need to have some say, because they also can't have unrealistic expectations like, oh, I'm going to lose 20 pounds in the next month and it's going to be healthy. Like, no, not unless you cut your arm off, also not healthy. But like, those are the things where understanding what's going to motivate them and will resonate with them is probably going to be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, you know, if you want to lose a leg, we know a guy. He does peptides too, but it doesn't matter. So, you know, tongue in cheek aside, like, again, it's just always about proof of concept. People want to know they can trust you, trust being the operative term. And this is interesting, because sometimes we find that some of the bigger predictors of why people don't take action or why people are perceived as lazy or amotivated, you know, it goes well beyond the scope of this particular podcast episode. So here's what I'll do. If you guys go into our school group and you comment this name, which is Coaching Psychology Cohort 1002, right? We will give you, you got to remember that. You got to pause it. This is a social test.
Just
comment
go
that
in
in the
and say,
social
hey,
group.
help me out, Andrew. Like, don't.
Nope. I want my operating instructions clear. You're going to do this to the T, so I know you're not a dickhead and that you can follow instructions. I'm going to add some friction here because I don't just want to give this to any schmuck. Coaching Psychology Cohort 1002. You comment that, we will give you access to the coaching psychology course, which is normally $500 as a standalone item, unless you're one of our subscribers, and in which case you get it for a different price point. But anyways, it'll detail all that stuff. Here's the thing that I'm trying to get to, though, right? If you want to learn more about this, that's how you do it. There are 3 elements that someone has to trust in order to start to determine that they want to become more motivated, right? And A, they have to want something, but B, then they have to trust either themselves, they have to trust the process, or they have to trust the professional, right? They have to at least trust 2 of those consistently in order to make meaningful progress. If they only trust one of those things, oftentimes it's not going to be enough to drive intrinsic or internal motivation. And so you have to start to ask yourself the question, why do people self-sabotage, right? And that's usually where there's some kind of, usually if there's not a coach in the equation, they have to trust themselves and they have to trust the process. Now, ask yourself this: if they don't make any progress, are they not trusting themselves, or not they? And if they don't trust the process, they might not even have a process, which then now they just have to trust themselves. How's that going to go for someone that's an uninformed consumer that has a desired outcome, but no process on how to get there and no professional support? It's the central premise of why people need to hire a coach, is they need someone to help them trust themselves, the process, which means that we're actually ethically obligated to produce content, which I've fallen short here on recently, you know, because like we need to put that stuff out there to establish ourselves as a subject matter expert. So at least when they come to the equation, and if they know more about you, they kind of like you, and maybe they trust you, trust being the most important part of that, that's where now you have a leg to stand on to help them trust themselves or trust the process. Usually kind of the process comes first and then themselves. So intrinsic motivation psychology for you. If you want to help people and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, examine one of those 3 things if they say that they want to change, and then leverage motivational interviewing or some kind of other technique that helps people navigate some of the ambivalence of like, I'm kind of satisfied I can be here. When you pull on those levers, that's what allows people to, you know, kind of crack the dam of behavioral resistance, why people don't do what they want to do. So anyways, that's my little TED Talk autistic, you know, it's Celsius in here, my little dog dad mug. So maybe we'll get sponsorship one day.
If anybody ever, if you are ever with Andrew in person and he offers you a fluid container for stuff, do not accept that, because it's probably got Celsius, some leftover coffee, and some form of like yogurt shake sitting in there from over the past like 13 weeks.
He's
So
not wrong. I will say, well, okay, like it's a 24-hour run. It's a 24-hour run. Like, you know, I'm not a dirty guy. I don't leave it in there for more than one day. I did know a guy, actually. I was meeting with one of my good friends, Chris, and we deployed together, and we were talking about this one guy named Gobble, and Gobble would always have this fucking protein shaker. And for the entire duration of when we were doing pre-deployment training, we had these little fridges in the barracks. He would then take his shaker, put the protein in there, make the drink after his workout, drink the drink, put the shaker back in the fucking fridge. He never washed it for like 6 months. Come on now. Come on now. So, anyways, but yeah, you want to get someone a quick win, get them to believe in something, help them actually see that they can do it, my opinion. Sounds like Steve is, you know, like find a way to align around that. And I feel like this is probably a pretty decent little short one there for you for why people suck at continuing with coaches is people don't get them the quick win. And what does that look like? Depends on you, depends on them.
quick wins build trust and keeps them more bought into the mission and why they're doing the work. So find a way to get them a quick win that is impactful for them, and you're going to get a better result, and they're going to likely stay with you longer and trust the long-term plan that you probably have.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you definitely want to make sure you stay subscribed, because we're talking about how to communicate, which is one of the biggest things that you can do to bridge some of those quick wins as effectively as possible versus have someone wonder if you know what the fuck you're talking about. So that's all I got for this one. What do you got? Anything to close out?
That's it. We appreciate you listening to Beyond the Pump, where we break down the business of fitness and nutrition. See you guys next time. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, throw a comment down there what you want us to chat about, and we'll see you later.